It is important for us to acknowledge the land that we stand on. Throughout this class, we learned about many individuals that made decisions which positively impacted their native culture. As we journeyed through First Nations theater class, Chief Sitting Bull was one of the many Native artists that produced realistic experiences in the Native culture through his performances that showcased what it truly felt like to be in their shoes. As noted, they demonstrated excellent skills with their bows and arrows and exhibited their artistry in dance. What left a great impression were the historical reenactments of attacks on settlers and overall straight violence. This was impactful and truly made people realize the hardships in which these individuals were confronted with. Another well-known Native that made an impact in the theater industry, as she was the first Native American jazz singer to appear in vaudeville, was Mildred Bailey. Mildred, also known as the Queen of Swing, was able to capture her audience by her powerful voice through her performances, which overall impacted the role of Native women of her culture and influenced many female vocalists to pursue their dream of becoming a performer. In addition, another impactful individual that made a great change in the theater industry was Pauline Johnson. As a young child, she struggled with limitations women face, but was passionate about writing. She influenced Indigenous women to express themselves through their writing. Her powerful poetry and storytelling focused on race, gender, and prejudicial ideas directed towards the Native culture. Her contribution made an impact in oral and written culture as she let the voices of the silence be heard. A fourth individual that made an impact presence within Native culture was the Dennis Banks. Dennis was a Native American activist, author, and teacher that created AIM, which was the American Indian Movement. His goal within the movement was for there to be equality, no matter what race you identified as, and to give a voice for Native Americans within the city. In 1973, Dennis and his movement had had enough. They decided to breach the U.S. Capitol of Washington, D.C., demanding for there to be change. Officers that were involved in retaliating against the natives were not taking accountability for their actions. They would beat people to death with no remorse. Dennis was infuriated and left us with a quote that expressed, "Let us show America and this country and the countries around the world that we will not tolerate any more abuse." Finally, Yvette Nolan. Her importance, artistry, and her vision through education within the Native culture continues to inspire many individuals around the world with her outstanding leadership. Her stories and productions inspired individuals for their voices to be heard, giving a voice to characters in order to unite and explore the relationships between Canadians and Indigenous individuals. In the eyes of Yvette, it was important that performers express themselves through their productions so that their voices would not disappear or not be heard. It was important for her that these performers were visible and were able to communicate their hardships and how they were depicted in the world. Medicine theater was a type of theater she used to express the connections within artistry and the development of a contemporary Indigenous theater practice. This allowed individuals to speak out and no longer be silenced. Her determination has made a huge impact not only on Indigenous culture, but also for women. It was important for Nolan to make sure that women were not marginalized, as time was finite. It was important to understand that everything mattered and many lives were being affected. After After studying many indigenous groups of individuals that each made a huge impact on indigenous culture, Chief Sitting Bull, Mildred Bailey, Pauline Johnson, Dennis Banks, and Yvette Nolan each shared their own stories and hardships on what indigenous people continue to face. Their voices were never silenced, regardless of the media and how they were mistreated, and with this, it impacted their well-being. Through the art of theater and the reality of the world, the strength and the resilience of these indigenous people allowed them to unite together as one.